Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Valkyries vlog series, episode 5, the first of 3 episodes on our debut album, All Bets Are Off. And before I start talking about it, I want to do some shameless plugging, if that's okay. So over the last couple of weeks, we've created lyric videos for each of the 12 tracks on All Bets Are Off to coincide with the start of this little series. So I'll put those up just after I've put this episode up. So check those out. Kind of Man I Am is fun. 3 More Days is fun. Hopefully all of them are entertaining and give you a feel for the lyrics a bit more, and it should hopefully be a good watch. And coinciding with that, I've also started a second series of vlogs based on a book called The 1,000 Recordings to Listen to Before You Die. So if you fancy listening to me wade through 1,000 recommended recordings, check that out as well. The first episode has got some jazz, it's got some blues, it's got some punk rock, and it's really great fun. I'm really loving that project, and I really hope you guys find it as interesting as I do. So that video will also be available soon as well, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on those albums and that really eclectic range of music. But without further ado, let's get into the album. So episode 5, All Bets Are Off. How did it happen?
All bets are off. All bets are off. All bets are off.
Okay, so there was a little snippet of the title track. Don't worry, I'm going to play some more of this stuff as we move through these episodes as well. But for now, hopefully that wets the whistle in terms of the album. But in order to look at the album and how it developed, let's go in our little musical time machine all the way to the back end of 2015. And this is a classic catalyst, really, I think, for an album and, just for life change in general. So about that time, I had just been through a breakup and I wasn't feeling wonderful. And I think being a person that's quite obsessive with projects and, when he gets hold of an idea and wants to follow through, I one day got this idea that it would be really fun to do an album. And then I think I had basically annoyed Ollie and Tom until they agreed to do it. And that's really why we did an album. There was no great reason, I think, other than I needed a project and the guys were nice enough to actually help out and do that. So once we'd made that decision, then came some really interesting bits and pieces. So the first thing was, what tracks do we include, and do we have good enough material already? And we've talked about the old bands, the Sick Twists and Big Bear and all that stuff in the past episodes. So the first step, I think, was to wade through that old material and say, do we have an album's worth? So let's find out. So here is the list of tracks I initially worked up. These are my notes from back in 2015, and hopefully you can have a laugh at how I've, quote, typed things and the random notes I put in. But this was my first thoughts, probably even before I talked to Ollie and Tom. So we have The Silver Lining, which you may remember from a previous episode, Woodstock, which I have to admit, I don't remember. And I might try and dig out that recording, actually, for a later episode and play it just to see. The Epiphany, The River, Kind of Man I Am, Airport Girl, I Was a Hero, which you've heard from another episode, Life Like Summer, which I played you a bit of, Under Old Harry's Eyes, Fallout, and Heart of Ice. So I think, so we get some interaction and some clips in, here are a couple of clips of some of those tunes you haven't heard before, just to give you a feel of the state of these recordings before we actually went into the studio. And as you can see there in the notes that I realised The Silver Lining wasn't an opener quite early on. I wanted to use the Mysterious Woodstock as a possible first track, and also the Epiphany had a nice transition from The River. Anyway, here are some clips, and I hope you enjoy.
Walking over on hills, staring down at the eye, where you turtle to get over the door. The water is warm, the rocks are like raisins, wind blows south to north.
So there were some clips of Under Old Harry's Eyes and of Fallout, an old Sick Twists song. And if I bring up this table now, this will show you what we actually agreed in the end to take into the studio after many months of practicing, prepping and songwriting. So here we go. Here's the list. And if you look at it, you will see straight away, this is a very different list to what I proposed. And that's because A, the recording quality on the original songs wasn't that great. And B, it was a perfect time to write some new material. So you'll see that Airport Girl is still there. All Bets Are Off was a new track we wrote before that album and obviously became the title of the album. Bridges was a song that I wrote in that period as well. It's unsurprisingly a breakup tune. Give it a listen and I'm sure you'll realise why. But then we have some classics, Complex Metaphor from the Sick Twists, Emerald Bay, a Big Bear tune, Keep the Beers Coming was a new one, Kind of Man I Am, all the way back from the Sick Twists, same with the Silver Lining, which made it through. So we have a really eclectic mix of tunes that kind of ranged all of our bands, but also contained a load of new material, which hopefully was the right decision. And I don't know. So here are just a few clips now of some songs before we went into the studio. So these are the recordings that we made ourselves as drafts. And I want to play you these so in the next episode, you can get more of a feel for what the studio recordings were as compared to what I recorded at home. So here are a couple of tunes.
Water clearing as you green, cold like winter bravery, shimmering in Emerald Bay. I know it was no mistake to kiss you by the lake. Oh, North Star, you guide me wherever you are. And like Elvis the King, I'll take up my guitar and I'll sit by the fire and play. Oh, I'll sit by the fire and play. When I was young, my heart was open. As I grew old, it closed. But the lights in the sky saw the fire in your eyes. That's where my heart unfroze. Now I can fly like a bird on the wing.
So there were some clips of some of the songs before we went into the studio. So you had Emerald Bay, and then The Rose and Compass, and then Now I Can Fly. And if anyone has gone away and listened to the album or seen the track list, you'll know what makes it in and what doesn't. But in case you haven't, I'm not going to give the game away. What I wanted to highlight there was the kind of material we were working with before we went into the studio, and I think the quite large amount of work we needed to do to get those songs into a position where they would sound half decent. And that's why I'm eternally grateful to my incredible bandmates, Ollie and Tom, because the Rose and Compass you heard there is nothing like the Rose and Compass you will hear next week when I play you the recorded version. It wasn't a good song. It was the kind of instanton moment of a song. It was the spark of a song, but it was so far away from being any good. So that's where being part of a band and having those people help is so valuable, I think. So next episode, I will talk all about the studio, give you some stories about how we did that and the kind of hijinks we got up to, because we were a little bit badly behaved while we were recording the album, but that's for next week. In the meantime, obviously, as always, the links to the album are down below on all good streaming services, as always, so feel free to give it a listen. I hope you enjoy it and, leave us comments, whatever. Great to hear feedback. And I hope you enjoy the lyric videos. Check them out when they come up. And I also hope you enjoy my series on the 1,000 recordings to listen to before you die. Again, check them out on our channel. And any feedback, any comments, love to hear them. Until next time, though, goodbye for now.